49ers, their running attack, we know they're really good. They're also, pretty diverse. A couple of guys back there. Raheem Mostert led the league in yards per carry. Doesn't get it a ton, but what he does damage. A little less than 800 yards on the ground, platooning with multiple players. Now, Mostert's scheduled to make just over $3 million this year, which will be the fourth highest paid back on the team behind Jerick McKinnon, $7.5 million. Kyle Juszczyk, who's right around $5, a little less than $5.5. Tevin Coleman as well, $4.25. Now Mostert's requested a trade after not being able to reach a deal with the team on a raise and an extension. So, in or out, Mostert does deserve a significant raise closer to McKinnon's $7.5 million a season.
No, you can't do that. I mean, I want to say out of bounds. You know what? It's a combo for me. I want to say inbounds he does, but just not with the 49ers. So that's why he's requesting a trade, which I get. So my answer is kind of both here. You just can't commit that much money to the running back room. And I had this conversation yesterday because we were going to talk about this yesterday, but we got disrupted because of all the power outages that I was going through. But one of the things that in football, and people claim that the running back is devalued and not worth it, etc. Well, if you have the right one, it's worth it. But you can't pay a bunch of them, as the 49ers seem to be stuck with right now.
Yeah.
And so I get why Mostert wants a trade, because they can't do away with everybody else. He needs to be someplace else, but he does deserve a raise, just not with the 49ers.
I think you frame it well. They're paying, $18, $19 million a year in totality to the running back position.
Exactly.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
That is utterly ridiculous.
Crazy. And this team is in a position, they've got, nice flexibility. They've got good players everywhere. It's almost, I don't know how they're doing it. You would think a team that would be saddled with this setup would be going nowhere, but they're in the other direction. They've got a chance to win a championship.
Yep.
Out of bounds only because of the interchangeable parts aspect, and I agree. He should, listen, you have 6 yards a pop and you have 10 touchdowns. You deserve to make more than $3 million in a season. I grant you that totally, but it's unfortunate circumstances, and this is by a committee. This is very much driven by schematics. I say out of bounds. I'm with you. Nets will be without Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Taurean Prince, Wilson Chandler. All not going to be there when the season restarts. So they signed a couple of journeymen. Michael Beasley's one of them. Also Jamal Crawford for the rest of the season. We've had him on the show. We love Jamal. 3-time Sixth Man of the Year. He's 40, doesn't look it. And he's played, and he hasn't played since April of last season. So those knees and those joints are well rested. In or out. The Nets should keep Crawford around next season when KD and Kyrie come back.
I'm going to say inbounds with this, BT. Let's not forget, a year or so ago, he scored 51 points in a game, man. The dude can still play.
Yes.
Now, he's not, he's probably a defensive liability, but you need scoring off the bench. You need to give your guys a blow and not get, washed out of the building. I think this is a great signing for them, especially if he can still play, which we'll find out because he's going to get a lot of playing time down in the Orlando bubble because all these other guys are coronavirus and maybe not even attending. So I'm going to say inbounds.
I'm going to say that you're right. I'm going to say inbounds as well. Personally, I'm just a huge fan of Jamal. Going back to his Knick days, he was one of the few professionals in a very, very unprofessional locker room. He was always a good quote, always a thoughtful, insightful person. Really liked the guys. I said we've had him on the show. Funny now the Nets are going nowhere this year without Durant and Irving, obviously. But for this bubble setup where defense could be optional, this really plays to his skill set, where it's just, let me break it down. Even though he's 40.
I like that.
He really is amazing. I have seen him do things, we all have, where his range, he can pull up from the logo, basically. He's got a sick handle. He's got several different gears. He's very thin, so weights, he's just got that body that's going to sustain itself. And I think, and listen, his expectations are such that, if his career's over, he's good with it, and he's accomplished a lot. If he gets to play next year as the ninth man, maybe once every couple of weeks you give Durant or Irving a blow in terms of, scoring 18, 20 points against a bad team. There could be some value there. I would say inbounds. I agree with you. Trevor Bauer, known for some of his comments as much as his field on the play. However, Bauer loves to pitch on short rest and is pushed to be part of a four-man rotation. While four-man rotation really isn't possible during a 162-game season, you just destroy arms. The Reds are considering the possibility of pitching Bauer every fourth day during the shortened 60-game season. In or out, more teams should pitch their aces on 3 days rest during the shortened season?
I'm going to say out of bounds of this, BT, and you can give more color because this is your sport of expertise. But it depends on what kind of pitcher you are. If you're a power pitcher and you're rearing back and hitting 95, 98, you can't pitch on 4 days rest. I would think it's just too much wear on your arm. Even if you are only going 5 innings or 6 innings or whatever it is, they're going to limit these starting pitchers pitch counts to. Some people can get away with it, but I can't say that everyone should do this. I'm going to say out of bounds.
I'm going to say that you're right again. The answer is absolutely out of bounds. I'm not saying that you can't manipulate an off day, a weather day, a rain out, whatever, a doubleheader, whatever it might be, where there's a couple of sequences where this happens. But to actually try to line this up for 60 games would be irresponsible. And I'll tell you why. If you're a young team, and I don't want to say a bad team, but a young team without legitimate World Series aspirations. You're an ascending team, like the Padres, right?
Yeah.
Like Toronto.
Yeah.
Orioles have their system starting to get stacked a little bit, and they're still a couple of years away. You would never throw a young arm out there for fear of just destroying an emerging asset. So
right.
For the young teams, it doesn't make any sense. For the teams who are really viable, Yankees, Dodgers, the Oakland A's are pretty good. The Minnesota Twins are pretty good. We all know the good teams, right? At least on paper. The entire NL East outside of the Marlins. I would rather save that for the postseason and maybe even manipulate it further. Because it's such a condensed season, 60 games, who says that I can't, in a 7-game series, pitch one guy certainly 3 times, and if there's a rainout, maybe a 4th or maybe a bullpen appearance.
Yeah.
Out of bounds. It would be irresponsible in a conventional setting. I disagree. I like Bauer wanting to take the baseball, but I disagree with it. It wouldn't work. Wrigley Field, the Rig, is the second oldest stadium in baseball, boasting the famed ivy-covered outfield wall. It's beautiful. Recently, the team started allowing privately owned adjacent buildings to construct seats on their roofs to expand seating for the stadium. That's got to be a great bachelor party.
Awesome.
That's got to be such a great night up there. Man, that's got to be a blast. However, with fans not allowed in the stadium, Wrigley rooftop seats have been approved for 25% capacity during the season at up to $350 a ticket. In or out. It is a bad idea to allow Cubs fans to watch games from rooftop seats.
Now, I'm going to look. If I understand this correctly, these are private-owned buildings.
Yes.
But the Cubs can sell seats up there. Correct? Yeah. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I think this is a good idea because a privately owned building, I think, will make sure that people are, because they don't want any disruptions or lawsuits or whatever it may be, they'll make sure that people are doing the right things up there. That includes social distancing. So I'm going to say this is out of bounds. This is not a bad idea. This is actually, I think, a good idea.
Listen, it's a unique idea, but it's a bad idea because I disagree. I'm going to say out of bounds. I disagree with the ability to restrain people when they have 8 beers in them and it's hot out. I mean, come on. I mean, we can sit here and say, well, we've established the proper protocol and everybody will adhere to social distancing guidelines. You'll wear a mask and 6 feet apart and 25% capacity. The first time,
yeah, and then you
get your first buzz going. Everything goes out the window.
And then you get banned. And then you get banned from the building forever, until you can never do it again.
Yeah, but you can't ban somebody. Well,
yeah,
I guess
can. It's a private building.
Yeah, I got it. I just here's the other thing to look at too. There's a competitive advantage/disadvantage aspect to it. Now, it's not at the stadium, so literally it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I wonder if baseball should step in and say, hey, listen, none of the other fans, none of the other stadiums, I don't believe there's any other stadium with that, I know not that access for sure. I'm trying to think if there's a stadium where there's some high-rises.
Camden, right? Maybe
Camden's
the warehouse.
got the I went to a wedding in the warehouse, but that's like a building. That's not apartments. I don't believe. Not when I went.
It's not really a good site either, like the Wrigley Field.
And you can't hear anything because there's no terraces. It was all indoors, at least the part of the wedding that I was at. I wonder if baseball intervenes and says, you know what, just so everybody's on the same page and there's a uniform rule, whether it's no fans in the immediate building, which we all know is going to happen, or in the surrounding areas out of fairness, that might not be a bad idea. Plus, the spread of the virus, you can almost frame it that way and really satisfy both concerns. I'll say out of bounds. Tiger Woods. Tiger who? Tiger Woods. Miss Tiger. Where Tiger at? Tiger Woods hasn't played a PGA-sanctioned event since February, but but announced yesterday that he'll make his post-lockdown debut at the Memorial Tournament in Ohio next week. Now, we saw Tiger play in the rain with Phil, Peyton, Tom Brady, and he looked pretty damn good. Every shot was piped in the fairway. Every iron was tight. Back looked good. It looked good. In or out. It is a bad look. It is a bad look for Tiger Woods, having played the exhibition round, but hasn't met or played at any of the PGA Tour events yet.
I'm going to say out of bounds of that, BT, because I think Tiger Woods is at the point in his career where, one, he's had ridiculous amounts of success, but two, like, his health is, I don't want to say it's fragile, but he's not the same player that can pound himself week in and week out. And so his success, he has to know where he's going to take his shots. You know what I mean? It's not like he can just, hope that this weekend I'm going to have it. He's got to really be geared up for each and every one of these outings that he's going to put on his body, throughout the PGA Tour season. So I'm going to say out of bounds. I don't think it's a bad look. I think he's doing what's right to preserve his health, which is most important for him and honestly for the PGA.
I agree with you. I'm going to say out of bounds too. I can see why some people might think this, but and I'm looking at them now. Quite frankly, he just really doesn't play in a lot of the venues that have already hosted some events here. He doesn't play Colonial at Fourth Ward. I think he played twice, like a long time ago.
Yeah,
Phil goes there because he was there when I went to watch him play. But Tiger, that's not an event. Tiger, that was the Charles Schwab in Fort Worth. Is he going to go to Detroit for the last one there with that Bryson one? I don't know. I mean, probably not. For the Rocket Mortgage, I don't think he would. The John Deere was canceled, but he never goes there anyway. Muirfield is obviously very different. Listen, so I'm with you. I'm going to say out of bounds. The other aspect of it, too, and I referenced how well he played, with Peyton and Phil and Tom Brady. Listen, it was raining, and he was pure in every iron, and he was crushing drivers. But to sit here and say that Tiger Woods was playing with the ferocity and the athleticism, in terms of ball speed and actual release of the club, all that stuff, that day that he would be playing at the Masters, I don't believe is accurate.
I agree.
He can still smash a ball 305 and not tax his back and his body 100%. You know what I mean? So it's a little misleading. He was playing well, but there's a next level to go from what he did with those guys to actually win on a weekend. So I got no problem. Hey, you're 40-something. You've got probably 12 or 13 scars at different parts of your body. You got to save yourself. I agree with you, Tiki. Out of bounds.
Tune in next time for another edition of Inbounds or Out of Bounds with Tiki and Tierney.